In a fast-paced world, every day brings new challenges and new opportunities. At Strayer University, we know a thing or two about getting and staying ahead of change. For over 130 years, we've been providing students like you with innovative tools, customized support, and an education built to empower you, so you can find your way forward and always keep striving. Visit strayer.edu to learn more.
For exclusive podcasts and more, sign up at patreon.com/partnersincrimemedia.
This week's Law & Order Marathon winner is Meredith Mead from Houston, Texas. Meredith will get a marathon decal showing she watched 26.2 hours of her favorite crime show. To be next week's winner, sign up at lawandorderpodcast.com.
I'm Kevin Flynn with Rebecca Lavoie and Brady Carlson. And these are their stories.
You think you know who did it, but you don't know who did it. Law and order, law and order, law and order. It's no ordinary police procedural, baby. It's the FNOG of police procedurals, baby. Law and order, law and order, law and order, law and order. These are their stories, these are their stories.
Welcome to These Are Their Stories, the podcast about network TV's most enduring crime franchise and the real-life cases that inspired their shows. I'm Kevin Flynn. Each podcast will break down an episode from either Criminal Intent, SVU, or Original Recipe, and today we're looking at the mothership Law & Order, Season 22, Episode 19, Private Lives.
It's not what you think.
I hope it's not what I think, because what I think is that you are funneling a little boy to your brother's home in secret.
Please, Ryan wasn't molesting Taylor. He was treating her.
Her?
Yes. Taylor is trans.
Joining us to do just that is true crime author and host of Crime Writers On and Netflix's You Can't Make This Up podcasts. It's Rebecca Lavoie. Hello, Rebecca.
Hello, Kevin.
And rounding out our panel is our special guest from the Cool, Weird, Awesome podcast. It's Brady Carlson. Hello, Brady.
Last time I checked, Kevin, death isn't reversible.
It's not reversible. Nope, that's some real good Law and Order detective talk in there.
It's a real conversation for your ass.
So I just want to give a programming note. We are going to be going on our first hiatus.
Kevin, does that mean we're going off the air?
No. It just means that Season 9 of These Are Their Stories will premiere in July.
Okay.
And we'll have some nice classic rewinds for you. This is episode 201.
Wow. Way to invite people not to listen, Kevin.
Without a break.
Yeah, it's not going to be like a Law and Order length hiatus here. We're not talking 12 years. It's just like a few episodes.
Well, I don't know. I mean, we could get Drew Bledsoe, and perhaps we just don't come back. But I don't envision that happening.
No, of course we're coming back.
This all started off great, Brady. You were the first episode that we recorded. And I have to know, how has your life changed for the better since then?
Well, I'm always looking to cut a deal when a deal is necessary. You know, when it looks like my trials are not going the way that they really should, and when my evidence isn't as strong as it ought to be, when my witnesses fail to cooperate. That's, I'm more likely to just, in the words of the original DA, Adam Schiff, take the deal.
Take the deal.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's what I do. I take the deal.
Yeah.
God damn it.
Yep.
Why do I keep putting up with this? So, Brady, of all the franchises, which two cops are your favorite detective team?
Favorite Law and Order detective team.
Well, I'm... all of them?
It's Cosgrove and Shaw.
All of them.
Well, yeah, I'm sorry it ain't Cosgrove and Shaw. I'm just going to say that. I mean, I go back to Lenny Briscoe. That's never going to leave me.
Right.
And Lenny Briscoe is the man and will always be sort of the gold standard for what this character and what this type of character is supposed to be. But I got to say, I did watch the episode where Sam Waterston left the show, and I do like the pairing of Reed Scott and Makad Brooks. That's like a nice set of detectives there. Those two are good. I'm basing this on 1 hour of network TV.
And who is your favorite prosecutorial team?
Favorite Law and Order District Attorney Prosecutorial Team.
Well, it's got to be Jack McCoy and Claire Kincaid. May she rest in peace.
May she rest in peace.
Always. I would bet if you check my answers for when we taped that first episode a zillion years ago, my answers probably have not changed.
Yeah. You know Jill Hennessy is alive, though, right?
You just give me a minute. I'm still swooning. Yes,
Right,
I'm glad to hear that.
Just checking.
Did you ever watch Crossing Jordan and just kind of like fantasize that it's just really Claire in witness protection?
What I really wanted that show to be was like it was Claire Kincaid hidden from sight, but she was actually secretly taking revenge on people. So it was a totally different meaning of the phrase crossing Jordan.
Do not cross Jordan.
Ah, gotcha.
All right, let's take a look at the first half of this episode. Law & Order, Season 22, Episode 19, Private Lives. Right-wing Congresswoman Kristen Bartell returns home to find her husband beaten to death in his home office. And yet, like most right-wing congresswomen, she thinks she's the actual victim.
This is my fault.
What do you mean it's your fault?
That was supposed to be me. I was scheduled to be here all day, but I got called into the office last minute for an emergency committee meeting.
What makes you so sure that you were the intended target?
I'm a conservative congresswoman in a state where admitting that out loud is a mortal sin. I'm constantly receiving threats in the minds of far-left activists. I'm literally the devil.
Detectives Frank Cosgrove and Jalen Shaw question both a librarian/drag queen and an Antifa activist about their threatening emails, but they've got alibis that are solid and woke. The victim was a doctor who had mysterious appointments with a patient only known by the initials TM. The detectives learn he's 13-year-old Taylor Myers, who denies knowing Dr. Bartell even though he was captured on video. Taylor was signed out of class for each appointment by the school counselor, who happens to be Bartell's sister. She tells Frank and Jalen that Taylor is trans and her brother was treating her with hormone blockers even though Taylor's parents opposed any gender-affirming care. DNA points to Taylor's father, Robert, as the killer, and Cosgrove and Shaw arrest him for the murder. All right, so the pressing political issue Congresswoman Bartell has on her mind 2 seconds before finding her husband's dead body: keeping trans kids off of sports teams. So instant karma is going to get you, or your husband if you're evil enough.
Yeah. And we're all just asking, how did this woman get elected in New York City, right? Like, how the fuck would that happen?
Yeah,
especially when your slogan is "I'm literally the devil."
Yeah,
to all of the people in my district, that's a hard one to run on.
She says what she is. I like that. Straight shooter. She looks you in the eye when she shakes your hand,
and she says, "I am the devil." Like, literally.
Yeah. I like that. You know, people the devil. So Cosgrove comes in and he looks at the brutal homicide scene and he says,
"Let me guess, blunt force trauma."
Blunt force trauma?
Somebody's been taking CSI classes at night.
Yeah.
At Fordham.
Well, Gorin, he is not, but he was not wrong.
Nope.
I gotta say, I like the actor Jeffrey Donovan a lot. He deserved a lot better character, I think, than Frank Cosgrove. I think he had the makings of a really good Law and Order character, but then they make Cosgrove have all these curious questions about LGBTQ issues.
He's
and
a Joe
race.
Rogan fan.
Yeah, it just made it, Brady, for me, it just kind of made it hard to like the character. Made it hard to like him, I think.
And essentially, you can see why they cast him, because he had the sort of right stuff to be a Law and Order detective.
Yeah.
But they just kind of, every episode I saw, they kneecapped him, and worse, it's it's one thing if your character is going to be I'm the tough talking guy who says what he thinks and I don't worry about being politically correct, but they didn't. Every time he said something politically correct, then the next scene he'd be like, "Well, actually, I do like body cams." He'd just go back on it right away.
Yeah. Stick with your convictions, Cosgrove.
Either be a racist or don't, Cosgrove. Pick one. Pick a lane.
Yeah. Well, Jeffrey Donovan has left the show. He cited creative differences. Hopefully those were the differences. He seems like a good guy on Twitter. The season 22 finale was Sam Waterston's 400th episode, and it featured his real-life daughter as the defense attorney. It kind of felt like NBC switched up the order of things that they shot and what they aired it, because in the penultimate episode, Cosgrove was shot.
Frank, you're bleeding.
Yeah, bullets will do that to you, I guess.
1013, officers down. 1013, come
survived, came to court with stitches under his eye and his arm in a sling and thoughts about leaving the police department. And in the next episode, no sling, perfectly healthy, no mention of it, pep in his step like nothing ever happened.
Yeah.
Back to business.
I don't know what health insurance plan they get there in New York, but apparently it's really good.
The city one. That's why they all want to be cops.
They've got the best EAP in the whole entire world of policing. 72 hours and he's just like over it.
That's why they was fighting for their pension. Those benefits are incredible.
Yeah. So one of their first suspects is a librarian who sent threatening emails to the congresswoman, and Cosgrove and Shaw learned that his side hustle is doing drag reading hour at the library.
You do it in drag.
Well, the idea is to get kids excited about reading by making it fun.
Aren't drag queens more of an adult thing?
Drag is just a celebration of who you are. The kids love it. It makes it fun.
As in, he goes, well, there's this full-color poster right behind you that I just happen to have.
Yes, with some great contouring.
Great contouring, said Cameron Manheim's Lieutenant Dixon. There's another actress who probably deserves a little better character.
This guy is like, oh, I sent her death threats because I wanted her to feel what it's like, because all these people who hate me are always throwing all this hate at me, and I want her to feel how terrifying that is. But by the way, I'm also a pacifist, so therefore I couldn't have possibly murdered her.
Just not a pacifist in my dreams.
So I mean, like you couldn't let that this guy who admitted to 2 detectives, yeah, I sent someone a death threat because I wanted her to be terrified. You didn't want to just like let that simmer a bit?
No.
Not so good. So after making a couple of arrests that don't pan out, Lieutenant Dixon says, hey, weren't there video cameras outside the house when this murder happened? And they're like, yeah, I wonder what happened to those videos. I mean, we've been down to the library. We went to some coffee shop and had to chase a guy out the back. But man, I think the video might be actually pretty helpful. So they go to Bartell's house to get those videos, and we can see that down the hallway to the entrance to the office, it is still covered with yellow police tape.
Yeah.
Like they're going to be painting in there or something.
Yes.
What is the appropriate amount of time to then take the yellow crime scene tape off of your own door? Is it like 12 days after Christmas, then it's okay?
Okay, clearly you've never watched The Staircase carefully, because Michael Peterson lived with that police tape and that crime scene in his house for fucking years.
Rebecca was a trophy. Come on.
Stop it. For the owl?
For the owl.
I mean, that congresswoman basically is like never home anyway, right? So who's there to even take it down? She's just rushing in and out of the house because she's literally the devil. She has to go out and commit evil.
Yeah, like you can't go in there. Rebecca, by the way, if you get murdered, don't let it be in the bathroom because I need that.
Yes, we know. To read.
To read.
And play games.
Don't let him use the lamp either if you need to read.
That's right.
He doesn't need a lamp for Candy Crush, but he does need a toilet for that.
To crush the candy or crush the toilet? So Bartell hands them a stack of DVDs and says, sorry this took so long. We were burning all of them on DVDs. It's like, you don't have Dropbox or what the...
Or a stick?
Yeah. I don't have DVDs where I am, which is 2024. All right, we have a Hey, It's That Girl.
Yes, we do.
Hey, it's that girl.
Can you give me the name of the actress playing Congresswoman Kristen Bartell?
Of course I can.
All right.
That's Pacey's older sister, Sasha Alexander, otherwise known as Maura Isles from Rizzoli and Isles.
My husband is dead, and I miss him terribly. But right now, I need to worry about me, my career, my future. This is the only thing that I have left.
Yes, Sasha Alexander, born Susanna Drobnajevic, Best known as playing, yes, Pacey's older sister, Gretchen, in Dawson's Creek.
She's actually best known as Maura Isles from Rizzoli and Isles.
Yeah, do you want to read my notes here? Do you know how much time I spent doing the research and writing this paragraph?
Do you know how much
you just bust through like the fucking Kool-Aid man, ruining everything that I've written.
You fucking know how much Rizzoli and Isles and Dawson's Creek I have watched. I was born for this. Hey, it's that girl, Kevin Flynn.
All right. Well, let me tell the rest of America, Lavoie.
All
Okay.
right,
Yeah.
all
So
right.
Gretchen in Dawson's Creek. She was in the first 3 seasons of NCIS and 3 seasons of Shameless. But, as I wrote here, but Rebecca knows her. See that? Rebecca knows her as Maura Isles
That's
in
right.
TNT's Rizzoli and Isles with co-star Angie Harmon.
That's right.
Angie Harmon.
My favorite basic cable TV show. Right? It is.
That was on a long time.
6
I had forgotten
years.
that was on for as long as it was.
6 years with the wonderful Lorraine Bracco, and it's a show I didn't watch it when it was on. I have discovered it in reruns, and it is so bad that it is great. It is. I watch every time I'm flipping the channels. I'm like, oh, Rizzoli and Isles. Oh, I've seen this one 17 times. I should stop and watch it again.
There were more episodes of Crossing Jordan. Though,
Do you know who I bet has watched a ton of Rizzoli and Isles?
Who?
Sasha Alexander's mother-in-law.
Yeah. Who is?
Sophia Loren.
Sophia Loren,
No.
yes. Yes, and of course, Sophia Loren's sister, Maria, was the ex-wife of Romano Mussolini, who is the son of Italian dictator Benito Mussolini, and this is how The Apprentice got made.
Oh, my God. She's married to Sophia Loren's son?
She is.
Yeah, that's
Good
how
on
that
her.
works.
Well,
Wow.
one of them. Not she has 2, but yeah, one of them.
Good on her. Wow.
Now, I went back and I watched the last scene that she did on NCIS because it was literal character assassination. They had her character shot and killed.
Really?
Yeah, like in the head.
Well, I mean, I apologize to spoil people from the first couple of seasons of NCIS, which was like 60 years ago now.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
It was like a swerve. They got her shot first where it looked like she wasn't dead and she was fine. And then they shot her a second time. But before they did that, one of her character's last words I wrote down was, and I quote, "Ow."
and they resolved the writer's strike anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. When Sasha was in high school, she was cast as the lead in the musical Baby, but hours before the show was to go on, the male lead chickened out. So Sasha went on and performed both roles to the delight of the audience.
Not surprising.
She was the Rizzoli and the Isles of
That's right.
Baby.
She did it, yeah. I wonder if that makes things better to just have one person doing both things. Like, hey, Rebecca, what do you think of Makad Brooks? Well, Kevin, I think, and I just shut your microphone. What do you think of Makad Brooks?
You know what I think of Makad.
Well, Kevin, I don't think you should objectify men in such a way. They're hunter-gatherers to this day. So, yeah.
I follow him on Instagram because he's such a good actor.
Yeah, I'm gonna shut you right off. Okay. So,
Have you seen his Instagram? He is not talking about acting on his Instagram. He only puts suits on and has bodybuilding photos on his Instagram. It's wonderful.
I didn't know anybody didn't do that on Instagram.
that makes him the second sexiest detective ever at the precinct.
Oh, Profaci.
So after the reboot, Angie Harmon told Entertainment Tonight that she would love to reprise her role as Abby Carmichael in an appearance on Law & Order. And Dick Wolf said, when the phone doesn't ring, you'll know it's me.
Oh,
shit. What did she do to him?
Nothing, but she couldn't remember her lines.
Oh.
Was something. And you could tell, because towards the end of her run, they were pulling a shift, meaning they were giving her fewer and fewer lines, or at least they were making them shorter and simpler. And them's the cold, hard facts.
Wow.
So we have a repeat offender.
Repeat offender.
Who was that playing attorney Allison Dumont?
Brian Bartell was an activist, a doctor who preyed on a confused child in order to further his own liberal agenda.
That's put the lotion on the skin. Brooke, what's her face?
Yeah, Brooke Smith, who burst onto the scene as skin onesie Catherine Martin in Silence of the Lambs. You like that one?
So gross.
So let's see.
The human union suit? Is that what you're...
Yeah. I just want to Put the zipper in there. It'd be perfect. Last year, Brooke gave tours of the famous Buffalo Bill House near Pittsburgh, where they shot Silence of the Lambs, because it's now like a kind of museum, and you can rent it as an Airbnb.
No.
Yeah, you'll definitely keep the lotion, or you'll get the hose.
No.
It's true.
No.
7 Law & Order appearances, including one in which she appeared with future Grey's Anatomy castmate Ellen Pompeo, and future Crossing Jordan's co-star Jill Hennessy. That's right.
It all comes back to Jill Hennessy and Crossing Jordan.
Brooke Smith was on, Crossing Jordan. Brooke's character in this Law & Order episode that she was on, she tries to convince Claire to leave the DA's office and gets her killed. So fuck you, Brooke Smith.
Come on.
Sticking your fucking nose where it doesn't belong.
Yes.
Of course she'd end up being the defense attorney for this guy.
Yeah.
So you got Hey, It's That Guy.
Hey, it's that guy.
Who's playing the school principal?
Unfortunately, he had to repeat a year due to a extended absence last spring. He's been struggling with mental health issues.
That actor is Ramsey Faragala. 11 Law & Order Universe appearances for the trifecta. If you look at his IMDb page, you can see that he's been typecast throughout his career, as most actors of Middle Eastern descent are, unfortunately.
Terrorist.
Well, either as a doctor, a sheik, or a terrorist.
Yeah.
He was Brody's double agent handler, Masur al-Zarani, in Homeland. Got him all set up for that big double cross.
Yeah.
Now, you can play a Homeland trading card game, kind of like Magic the Gathering. You have different cards, different characters, and you throw them down. And the Al-Zarani card is a +2 hit and draw 2 intel cards, so it's pretty good.
Are you making this up?
I'm not making this up.
Oh.
This is real. And you can get the Al-Zarani card autographed by Ramsey for $4. So you want to complete your collection, that's where you would go.
That's plus shipping and handling?
I think you might have to go pick it up.
How much is Hugh Dancy's wife's card?
Oh, probably a lot more if it's autographed. So the card comes with a lot of red string.
Yeah.
And it's wrapped up like that.
Yeah.
You take the thumbtack.
It's covered in tears.
Yeah,
ugly tears.
Yeah, the card is just her ugly crying face, so yeah, it's not great. Lastly, can you tell me who's playing librarian and aspiring drag queen Dwayne Washington?
I was being dramatic, but Bartell introduced a bill that would ban children from being exposed to drag queens. It's a coded way of telling the crazies out there that we're pedophiles. It sparked all kinds of online hate.
That's Daniel Frank Kelly, a.k.a. Paige Turner.
Oh.
Paige Turner. Paige Turner is a drag star who appeared in shows like City Boys and Living on a Prairie. So if you perform in drag and then you appear on TV out of drag, aren't you actually performing in drag?
No.
Right?
Whoa.
I've just taken it down a couple levels, right?
That's not how it works.
Isn't that how it works? And you're like, this isn't surprise.
Someone needs to watch more Drag Race and get educated on this issue.
Paige Turner has her latest single out now on Spotify. It's called Tucked Myself In.
Love that. I love that.
She takes credit for coining the catchphrase slurp, whereas I take credit for the term, is this because I'm a lesbian?
Is this because I'm a lesbian?
Okay, so the problem with the security footage is that each time the mysterious patient TM shows up, the camera gets switched off, including right before the murder. Now, the cops are like, how could this happen right at the most important time? And now I'm like, now you know how it feels when your body cam, quote unquote, fails to work whenever you shoot somebody.
Ooh.
How's it feel? So TM turns out to be Taylor Myers, a student at some fancy private school. They do get him on video once, and it's the first time that he goes to Dr. Bartell's home. When they question him, he says, well, I never met him. But then they confront him with the video, and he says he was there to sell chocolate bars for the school. He went in, the doctor talked for a full 40 minutes.
Oh, that house. That guy, yeah, he was super talkative. I mean, he talked forever. I just didn't get his name. I never saw him again after that.
I call bullshit on that school needing to hold fundraisers like selling candy.
Or anything.
If they got to sell candy, those people send their au pair out to do it.
I was going to say, yeah, that's something that the help does, not the students. Does a single witness that they talk to not lie first?
No, the librarian doesn't lie. The librarian's like, no, I sent the hateful email.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, I guess the librarian, yeah, which, that's one case where you may want to sort of play your cards a little closer to that. The blinged out vest. But I mean, okay. But everybody else is just like, no, I am going to tell you a completely made up story from the get-go, and I'm going to hold tight to it as long as I can.
Yes.
I still can't get over those kids going like, oh, if I sell enough Hershey bars, we get a pizza party.
Have you seen the refrigerator in that kid's apartment? They do not need to do a fundraiser.
They don't need to do a fundraiser.
It's 7 feet wide. They're so rich. The people in this episode are so rich. I do like that they're going back to rich people only, exclusively. It's really good for my real estate.
That's classic.
Voyeuristic stuff, yeah.
Why is it everybody was running away from him in this episode? I just want to talk. Even the kid, ran out of school.
Yep.
And then into the street like he's baby Noah.
Almost died.
Yeah, and almost get hit by a car. I mean,
if only that had happened to baby Noah. Oh, I'm sorry. Was that too soon? Am I not supposed to?
You could shit on baby Noah. It's like talking about the baby Jesus. It's like a whole different kind of Jesus, right? There's older goes to dance class Noah, and then there's baby Noah who would fucking swallow a quarter. And it'd be like a whole 2-part episode. But guys, when it's time for the arrest, Frank and Jalen go to the Myers house, but the DNA doesn't point to Taylor. It does point to a male relative. So they say to Robert Myers, roll up your sleeves. And we can see he's all covered in scratches.
Roll up your sleeves, please. Turn your hands over.
I want a lawyer.
You can call one down at the station.
Who goes to someone's house to kill them wearing short sleeves? I mean, just this is my killing golf shirt, and I just want... It just seemed like it's really bad planning, especially for what time of year it was.
It's hot, though, now, I mean, that seems like a very 1990 kind of presumption that we have. I mean, it was 75 here last week, and it's still technically winter.
Yeah.
Do you think maybe he was just sort of dramatically unbuttoning his cuffs and rolling up his sleeves like a 1900s bare knuckle boxer? Just where he gives the names to his fists. He's like, oh, you want fisticuffs? I got them right here. I'll give you my 2 friends, Jack Johnson and Peanut O'Flaherty.
Disney Plus and Hulu are better together in the Disney Bundle with new movies and series. On Disney Plus, experience the full Taylor Swift The Eras Tour, Taylor's version, with new main show performances and acoustic collection. On Hulu, follow the fantastical evolution of Bella Baxter, played by Emma Stone in the award-winning film Poor Things. All of these and more streaming this month. Get the Disney Bundle with Disney Plus and Hulu. Terms apply. See DisneyBundle.com for details.
In a fast-paced world, every day brings new challenges and new opportunities. At Strayer University, we know a thing or two about getting and staying ahead of change. For over 130 years, we've been providing students like you with innovative tools, customized support, and an education built to empower you, so you can find your way forward and always keep striving. Visit strayer.edu to learn more.
All right, now let's take a look at the second half of this episode. Robert Myers' lawyer says that she'll argue self-defense, saying Bartell was an activist doctor conducting experiments on a child without parental permission.
Any violence in Myers' past?
There was a prior incident in his daughter's school a few months ago. Myers flipped out when confronted with Taylor's gender dysphoria.
What did he do?
He smashed the counselor, Susan Bartell's laptop, and threw a coffee mug and shoved her up against a wall.
Okay. Establishes he's got a temper.
Prosecutor Nolan Price concedes to the jury Bartell should have had the parents' permission, but the treatment is legal, and beating someone to death isn't. Just have to make that point. Congresswoman Bartell reveals she overheard Myers' threats against her husband, but testifying lets her base know that she was aware that gender-affirming care was happening in her own home. Price and assistant Samantha Maroun are still stuck on who signed Taylor out of school for her final appointment. It wasn't the counselor, it was Taylor's mother, Deborah, who secretly gave permission to the doctor to treat her daughter. The defense wants to call Taylor to the stand to refute the testimony, but Deborah begs Nolan to keep her off the stand to protect her well-being. DA Jack McCoy says the only way to prevent the testimony is to offer a deal. Myers agrees to a 15-year sentence, a sentence not long enough for the widowed congresswoman who says she'll be replaced by an even more extreme politician, making the world even less safe for trans kids. Okay, one question I've always had about the trials of Law & Order in the Law & Order universe is why do the jurors come to court wearing suits? Like they're on trial. You know in real life that isn't what happens.
Nope.
I mean, guys are rolling in with their Van Halen shirts.
Yep, anything they want. You can wear anything you want to court when you're a juror.
Remember, these are the people who couldn't get out of jury duty, so they roll in with joggers and Old Navy hoodies, and it's like, I'll decide who's a murderer. Thank you very much.
You know what? They're giving me $20 and lunch. Yeah, that's suit worthy.
So Attorney Dumont argues it was self-defense. And while cross-examining Shaw, she pulls out a hypodermic needle and suggests he might have been attacked with that.
And would you agree that a needle like this would qualify as a weapon?
I suppose, given certain circumstances, it could.
That giant needle? Are those hormone blockers injected in the back of the mouth like a dentist? That is a huge needle.
That was for another one of his patients who was like an elephant.
Yeah, it's not a needle. It's one of those injectable turkey baster things. It's like, oh, that's really long.
You mean like for like IVF or something? Is that what you're thinking?
Like, don't they just go in the arm? Is it like where?
In the butt?
So there's the obligatory moral quandary to debate between Price and Maroun.
Taylor has known who she is since she was old enough to talk.
She's a kid. Right now, she thinks she knows who she is. What about in 5 years? I didn't have half a clue about anything when I was 13 years old.
There's a difference between not knowing if you want to be an astronaut or a firefighter when you grow up and not knowing who you are. You never felt like you weren't a boy. Imagine being trapped in a female body, forced to grow boobs.
How would you like to grow up and be forced to grow boobs? And then they had this really awkward exchange of looks, as if Maroun said something she didn't want to say, and maybe said more than she needed to say, or maybe she was revealing something. That was weird.
And that argument was the second of the two arguments in that vein on the show, and that was the more thoughtful one.
Yes.
Because early on, there's a scene where Cosgrove is like, I don't get any of this. And Shaw just kind of no-sells it. He's just like, yeah, well, you know what? We've got this murder to solve. He just like completely, he's like, I am just going to be a gray rock here. I am not going to like take this bait.
And Shaw's the more progressive one, right, of the duo? And he's just like, who am I? I'm not going to explain this to you, old man.
Right. Yeah, he's just sort of like, he just sort of kind of gives him an okay boomer and then goes back to trying to do his job.
Right.
See, I think both of you are missing the important point, which is that this discussion is about Maroon's boobs.
Okay.
Right.
That's what it's about.
Yeah.
That's what you want it to be about.
Well, I think, I mean, why else would they look at each other like, whoa, shit, what? You grow those boobs?
I see.
Why?
I see. I think she's just like, so how are you going to ruin someone's life this week, sir?
And the answer is all the ways.
All the times. All the ways, all the times.
All the ways.
Sam Waterston had 8 more episodes as Jack McCoy before leaving 1 month ago from today's recording. 19 seasons, 405 episodes, none of them in which his scene partner was a pie plate, like Mike Moriarty. His return to the show for the resumption of, I don't know if we call this isn't technically a reboot, right? When they resumed.
It's a reboot.
And reboot would be like it's all new characters. And, well, anyway, it was, I mean, I don't think it would have been Law & Order without him. It would have been it would have felt like a clean slate reboot. It wouldn't feel like sort of like a continuation here. Brady, for decades, actors swapped out. A lot of interchangeable parts in the casting. But it was still Law & Order, except for Sam Waterston. He was there. You know, he was the Rock. Is this still going to be Law & Order without Sam Waterston?
I mean, yes, but I think the problem with this new Law and Order, which is, it's hard to call it a reboot, but it kind of is too, is that it itself is not really Law and Order. I mean, one thing that struck me about this particular episode was that if it had happened in the original run of the series and this congresswoman had hid a huge piece of knowledge from the cops as they were investigating the murder of her husband because of her politics, because it would make her political life difficult, Jack McCoy would have prosecuted her. I mean, he would have charged her right away. He would just been like, "Are you kidding me?" And he would have put some charges on her, and that would have potentially been an interesting twist in the show, because basically she was hindering prosecution, and that would have drove him nuts. But
right.
Here, all he kind of does is go, well, just make sure that the people who are on the jury for a murder trial knows that someone got killed here.
That's right.
Yeah.
Hang him low, McCoy, is what he is.
Yeah,
right
seriously. Now. He's a bit running out the clock.
Yeah. Well, Sam's 83, and in the last few seasons, I'd say kind of showed he lost a little zip on the fastball. I want to say, like, hey, Sam, it was really great when you first got the job because the other guy was crazy, but it might be time to let someone 20 years younger do the job.
20? Before
another crazy guy comes along, and I don't know what national event that, like, also corresponds with, but I'm just feeling like, okay, boomer. It's good to know when it's time to move along.
I did like that they let Sam Waterston do one more speech to the jury.
Yeah.
In that episode, because he's like, finally, he kind of fired back up, and he was bringing some of the old Jack McCoy out.
By all accounts, he is a decent person most of the time. But on the morning of December 12th, he was not. He was a killer.
But the difference is, although the DA is an elected position, Sam Waterston didn't run for the office of playing Jack McCoy. You know that, right, Kevin?
Yeah, I know
He was hired for this. It was a job.
He's good at it. Fucking good at it. So in the end, the congresswoman has a little, how do you like them Adam's apples exchange with Price.
Hey!
She says,
my primary opponent is already running attack ads claiming that I support genital mutilation.
That is all the more reason to protect kids like Taylor.
You don't get it. Thanks to you, I will likely be replaced by someone who doesn't even believe that trans people are real. That it's all make-believe. So the only thing that you've accomplished here is making the world less safe for those children.
Again, proving Brady Carlson's theory that he cannot get justice without ruining someone else's life, such as the entire trans community. Well played, Nolan Price.
This whole thing makes no fucking sense. All right? Can we just say this whole thing makes no fucking sense? Here's
Agreed.
why, okay? She's not going to lose her seat to a more conservative person in New York City, okay? First of all. Second of all, this whole prosecution, the beating up thing, had to have been murder because the doctor... because the dad, the whole thing wasn't like, it was consensual, the treatment. The dad didn't fucking know that because the mom forged his signature, right? The whole motive for the dad's murdering the doctor was that the dad thought that the doctor was doing the treatment without his consent, right? And so that the prosecution comes in and says, aha, but the treatment was consensual because the mom gave consent, right? The dad didn't fucking know that because the mom forged the dad's signature. So now this whole theory of the prosecution and the whole like breaking apart of the defense makes no sense. This whole thing makes no sense. This whole episode makes no sense. Makes zero sense.
All of the characters who are in this are really quick to assign themselves like whatever they do is going to determine the fate of all trans kids everywhere.
Yes.
Yeah.
So like they're having that meeting with Jack McCoy where they're like, well, if we have this kid testify, they could kill themselves and all of this would have been for nothing. And the congresswoman's like, well, if I'm not in Congress, then all the trans kids are going to be murdered. And it's like, that's not really quite how the world works.
Right.
There's a lot of main character syndrome going on.
Yes.
But at the same time, like literally all of the characters who are all fighting over this kid all of them put the kid last.
Yeah. Exactly.
They are all doing their own thing about the kid, with the kid's interests at the very bottom of the pile.
Exactly.
Including the mom who had that big tearful scene, who is saying, I was so worried that my kid was going to kill themselves and I couldn't live with that. And so I had to accept her as a daughter instead of a son and so on. And it's like, but she also like completely hid all of this stuff from the cops as well as her husband, because she didn't want any of the blowback to come back on her. So she's
Correct.
like, she's looking out for number one. She's not looking out for the kid.
That's right. It's all about me.
Yeah, she said like her replacement might be worse, but like you weren't really helping things much already, you know?
No.
Being merely indifferent doesn't make you an ally. You don't have to like go do a reading at the drag story hour, but you could probably let the coach decide who gets on the track team instead of you.
Yeah, at the beginning we hear she's meeting with what? Americans for Prosperity or whatever.
She's on her way to she's like, I need to decide whether I'm going to go to this rally against trans rights. And at the end she's like, well, without me, those trans kids are finished.
And it's like, you weren't helping, lady. You weren't helping. She's like, oh, my husband and I loved each other, but we disagreed on everything about politics. She thought the human rights were politics.
Well, she's literally the devil.
If it weren't for me, who was going to slow walk this legislation? Does not make sense. Does not make sense. What is Chewbacca doing on Endor? It does not make sense. Not an Ewok.
Disney Plus and Hulu are better together in the Disney Bundle with new movies and series. On Disney Plus, experience the full Taylor Swift The Eras Tour, Taylor's version, with new main show performances and acoustic collection. On Hulu, follow the fantastical evolution of Bella Baxter, played by Emma Stone in the award-winning film Poor Things. All of these and more streaming this month. Get the Disney Bundle with Disney Plus and Hulu. Terms apply. See DisneyBundle.com for details.
In a fast-paced world, every day brings new challenges and new opportunities. At Strayer University, we know a thing or two about getting and staying ahead of change. For over 130 years, we've been providing students like you with innovative tools, customized support, and an education built to empower you, so you can find your way forward and always keep striving. Visit strayer.edu to learn more.
Now let's take a look at the real-life story that inspired this episode. It's time for Rip from the Headlines.
You think you know who did it. You think you know who did it. But you don't know who did it. You don't know who did it. Rip from the Headlines.
This episode takes its inspiration from the politically motivated attack on the husband of former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. In October 2022, Paul Pelosi was alone in their San Francisco home when an intruder broke in through a rear door at around 2:30 in the morning. David DePape was armed with 2 hammers, zip ties and duct tape. He awoke the sleeping 82-year-old and asked to see Nancy. When he told him she wasn't home, DePape said he would wait. Pelosi called 911 and calmly told the operator a gentleman was waiting for the speaker. When patrolmen arrived at the home, they found the 2 of them struggling over the hammer. The intruder refused to drop it, then smashed it into Pelosi's head before the officers could subdue him. Pelosi was hospitalized for a week with a fractured skull and injuries to his right hand and arm. Investigators say DePape had been radicalized by right-wing conspiracies and had a hit list of other Democrats. In November, David DePape was convicted of 2 federal felonies for attacking the House Speaker's husband. A jury has yet to decide his fate on separate state charges for the assault.
So DePape will be sentenced on those federal charges on April 24th, and then the state trial comes up. I think the state trial has probably more serious charges, at least one carry like heavier penalties, even though it's the federal charges are probably going to be very, very hefty, the federal sentence, I should say. In a Washington Post poll, 40% of Republicans and 23% of Democrats say violence against the government is justified. In a separate poll, 23% of Americans agree with QAnon that the centers of power are controlled by Satan-worshipping pedophiles atop a child sex trafficking operation, and that violence may be required to remedy it. Why are we spinning out of control?
What? Is that a real question?
That's a real question. What the fuck is going on?
Pedophiles are running the government, and we need to use violence to overthrow them. Here's what I think. I think that questions being asked by pollsters are insane. And I think that a lot of what is going on is that people now have permission to say out loud things that maybe they've been thinking for a long time. And I think that disinformation and misinformation have really, this is what it's all about. It's disinformation and misinformation and the tools that let those things spread and the algorithm. That's actually what's going on, to be actually serious. That's my serious answer to the question.
Well, there is a certain dopamine hit that you get now because you have social media sites that ask you, what do you think? There's sort of no social pressure against you just saying whatever it is that you want to blurt out that happens to pop through your mind at that time. In fact, these days you're often likely to find people who believe the same thing that you believe, no matter how bonkers it may be, and then that can amplify itself. But I think the real trouble and the real social issue that we've had is that all of the social media sites got really, really big into disinformation in the period where Law and Order was off the air. A show that is about consequences for bad choices. And now that it's back, I think we may be able to turn the corner and start to get everybody back in line so that they're believing more realistic things.
Yeah. You have to have that newspaper to hold up in front of your face when you're getting perp walked.
Yes.
That's...
The one
you gotta
that
have
says
a little shame, yeah.
Molestation.
And that's all as much as they get on there. So DePape had other targets in mind. They included Hunter Biden, Governor Gavin Newsom, and Tom Hanks. Okay, now you've gone too far.
Jesus.
That's America's dad or friend or...
everything.
He's Sully. He's Mr. Rogers. There's no crying in baseball. You do not fuck with Tom Hanks. God damn it.
Life is like a box of chocolates, not a hit in the head with a hammer.
That's it.
No, thank you.
DePape was Canadian, and he found his way to San Francisco through his relationship with Gypsy Taub, an activist in the San Francisco public nudity movement. Taub got her start on a cable access show as a 9/11 truther in which she got naked and spewed conspiracy theories. I think they called it the Naked Truth or something like that. She later became a protester in Free the Nipple campaigns, in nude parades, and taking her clothes off at City Hall. Taub was photographed for a New York Magazine article in 2014 naked and standing in line for a Google bus. You know what a Google bus is?
Nope.
It's a company bus, private bus that takes employees to Google offices, right? So the Google bus. Google's vice president of communications said, there should be, it's true, quote, no nudes on the bus. It might interfere with the Wi-Fi. I'm surprised because to this day, Google's homepage only has 2 buttons, and one of them says, I'm feeling lucky. That's going to do it for us. We want to thank our guest, Brady Carlson. Brady, how can our listeners follow you online?
Check out the all-new redesigned website, bradycarlson.com, or the podcast website, coolweirdawesome.com.
And Rebecca Lavoie, how can our listeners follow you?
They can find me everywhere on the social media apps at Reb Lavoie.
And you can track me on Twitter at Kevin P. Flynn. You also can tweet to us at Law & Order Pod. Follow us on Instagram at These Are Their Stories Podcast, or like and subscribe on YouTube and TikTok. Our newsreader was Cy Frater. Our theme music was composed and performed by Uncanny Valleys. Content assistance from Travis Roy. Lily Flynn handles promotions. All clips in this podcast were used in compliance with the U.S. Copyrights Act fair use exemption for criticism and commentary. Go to lawandorderpodcast.com and sign up for our newsletter for a chance to be our next Law & Order Marathon winner. These Are Their Stories will return and will be recorded in the Treehouse Yoga Studio above the Mockingbird Cafe in Bay St. Louis, Mississippi studio, and is a production of Partners in Crime Media.
Partners in Crime Media. In a fast-paced world, every day brings new challenges and new opportunities. At Strayer University, we know a thing or two about getting and staying ahead of change. For over 130 years, we've been providing students like you with innovative tools, customized support, and an education built to empower you, so you can find your way forward and always keep striving. Visit strayer.edu to learn more